Hi, I'm Nicole.
And I'm Mariah, and we're Beargrass Thunder. We're here at the Louisville Nature Center to do a Kentucky nature hike.
Let's go. Richard, do you want me to film?
They made a brush pile for the box turtles.
Oh,
And
that's
so
awesome.
this is all the stuff from the sensory garden. See, look at these giant logs from those giant banana plants. They're huge. Here!
Oh, buck!
It's a bug! I was waiting for it to come the other day.
So deer are in rut right now, which means that that buck is looking for a female to show off those antlers to. And he's a young buck, you can tell because the antlers only look like a... Well, actually, you know, we're looking at a 6 point.
Really?
Yeah,
3 on each?
yeah. So he's at least a year old, 2 years.
Hi, baby.
And these deer have lived pretty freely on this preserve because it's surrounded by Beargrass Creek. There aren't as many roads, you know, for them to run across. So the population is really increasing.
So even though he's leaving from us, he's actually not scared of us because white-tailed deer, they get their name from the fact that they flip their tail up in a warning to everyone else. You can see the white underneath, and that warns all the other deer around him. So the fact that his tail's still down means he's like not threatened by us at all. He's actually waggling it. That's cute.
So this is an ash tree that's been felled. And so looking at it, you can see where the rot was. It's a discolored bit, but it's more important to talk about why these trees had to be cut down. So the bark of a tree all the way around the outer perimeter is called the cambium layer. And so this layer is home to a lot of insects, burrowing insects that like to eat wood. And there is one notorious little insect called the emerald ash borer that came on a load of pallet wood from China, and it specialized in eating ash trees, but Chinese ash trees. And so Chinese ash trees actually have evolved with the ash borer to basically make a compound that kills it and its larva. So when this Chinese emerald ash borer came to America and went to American ash trees, green ash, white ash, blue ash, that didn't have this compound, basically it meant that this one insect could go to any forest in eastern North America and have an unlimited buffet. And the trees had no way of stopping it. So, you know, state governments did what they could by trying to ban firewood, but literally these bugs were increasing their range every, 5 miles a year, and you can imagine what thousands on thousands of insects can do. So the good news is that that they've killed so many ash trees that the ash borers are actually starting to die out because there are no more ash trees for them to eat. And the good news for our forests is that because the emerald ash borer only lays eggs in more mature trees that are, say, older than 10 years, a lot of the saplings that were planted by mature ash trees might actually have the chance to grow up without the threat anymore. But it goes to show how damaging one insect can go, because, if you're trying to be amenable to hikers and people that go through this route, if you don't cut your ash trees down that are dead or dying, then it poses a risk to everyone who walks underneath it. And it's something that a lot of cities have had to deal with a lot, because these ash trees grow so fast and they were so shady that basically from 1920 on, they were the tree of choice in every new neighborhood. So Germantown, for instance, it doesn't have almost any shade anymore because most of the shade that was in that area were from ash trees. They recently had to cut down a whole bunch of mature ash trees in downtown Louisville, and so you can imagine all the time and effort that went into that, and eventually we're going to have some sort of balance come back, but right now it's a lot.
Well, they actually had to cut down 20 alone along the trails here in the Louisville Nature Center.
So this is an ash tree, and the way I know it's an ash tree is you can see that on the bark there are these diamond-shaped ridges, almost like V's. And so if you look at a tree that has these dark V's in its bark, it's more than likely an ash tree. So what's really cool about trees is that they grow so... Got ahead of myself there. Oh my... Mariah.
Happy
Mariah.
birthday!
I'm a professional. So this tree right here grows so incrementally that you're able to see these rings that it leaves, and by counting the tree rings you're actually able to gauge its age, and based on how thick it is, we're looking at a tree that grows, so this is at least 5.
Way older. Look at all those rings. It's too long to count.
Oh my god, what is happening?
So this is a different case of a tree being, yeah, this is more of a natural way the tree dies, because inside this cherry tree is a whole bunch of tunnels, and this was probably made by either termites or carpenter ants. And you know, they do play a really important role in the forest ecosystem, because all of this tree will actually be broken down over time and brought those nutrients back into the forest. And so these younger saplings can actually use these dead trees as a way to get nutrients and to regenerate. So continues the cycle. So you see this? This isn't spray paint. This is actually the Osage Orange. And it gets its name from these fruits that we've already talked about actually in a previous video. Look at the link. But what really makes this tree unique is that it actually has bright orange roots. So if you didn't know from looking at all of these monkey brain hedge apple seeds that it's leaving, then you can actually tell that it's an Osage Orange based on how orange the bark is. This isn't found on many trees, you know, ever, but especially not in Kentucky. So this is a neat shot of the winter creeper.
You put a picture up the other day.
So all of that green is actually an invasive plant that's a ground cover. Boo. Invasive boo, called winter creeper. And winter creeper is a vine that really loves to climb up trees, but it can also turn into a shrub if there's no trees. But it blankets the ground and pretty much smothers anything else out. So you can see, you know, this is just one part of one plant and it grows sideways. So it's basically trying to cover as much ground as possible, and the leaves stay green pretty much all winter. So you can imagine how hard it is to control when it's the only thing that actively still grows during cold months. This is. This is pokeweed! Pokeweed!
Beautiful.
It got poked. Is that the grass?
Yeah, so this is some,
River oak.
yes, thank you. This
You're
is
welcome.
Chasmanthium latifolia, and, what am
How
I
do you
saying?
know the scientific name and not the river oak?
Because I'm science! But, you can see how beautiful this grass is during the winter and fall. And imagine what this would look like on someone's front lawn. Instead of 2 inches of just mowed fescue, you actually have something that can actually provide food for the birds during the winter. And also, one clump of this grass can actually reseed itself many times over and expand naturally, meaning you don't actually have to pay a lot for landscaping once you put in the plugs you need. So it's just something to consider.
Do you want grass? Do you want lots of grass?
But it's just it's something to kind of change perspective on the way we look at stuff.
All right, thanks for watching. This has been a Kentucky Nature Walk. We just walked the Red Maple Trail through the Beargrass Creek State Nature Preserve here at the Louisville Nature Center.
We hope you enjoyed this video and many others. So don't forget to like, subscribe, ring that bell on YouTube, or if you're not on YouTube, go to our website at beargrassthunder.com. We'd love to hear from you.
See you next time.
Yeah.